I love Veve as a company and what they're doing. However, constructive criticism is always important for something that you care about. If you want to see it move it forward, then you have to speak up about the things that maybe don't sit well with you and maybe some solutions that could happen. So today we're going to discuss some of those and maybe how they could move forward or what could be in the plans for the future to do just that. Let's get started. Welcome everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit that subscribe button. And if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. Just like anything, I think it's very important to discuss what works for you and what doesn't, because as consumers and customers, they actually do matter for how a business runs and how organizations shift their narrative. If they're trying to display a said message to consumers, then they have to understand what message is actually being relayed to them. Because the way you think about something may not be the way that a consumer thinks about something. For example, if we take David Yu, for example, who's been collecting for 30 plus years, and then you take someone like me, could his understanding of how I collect be the same as what I would actually perceive that message to be? And this is why I'm going to talk about some of the negative aspects towards Veve right now and how I'm feeling on these certain areas and maybe what could be done or what I hope to be done to improve that. The first one is the clunky app. Now, if you've used Veve since last year, you will know the app has moved forward significantly since that period of time last year. I remember going for drops and it was near enough impossible. I think you get kicked out of the app and you couldn't get back in, and then you had to log in again, and then you didn't know how to buy properly, and the app wouldn't load, and the buy now button wouldn't load. There was genuinely so much wrong with it, and near enough didn't work. Now, at the time, I just was absolutely addicted to the marketplace, so no matter what had happened, I really didn't care. I was just loving to collect these things on Veve and on my phone, that it didn't bother me. But I know if there was this number of people on Veve as there is right now, back in those days, I doubt there would be half the people who are still on today, just purely because of how badly the app ran. So the strides that they have taken in order to get to the position that the app is in now is seriously incredible. Things run a lot smoother, it's a lot easier to get on the app. Every drop you can basically get on without any issues, so anyone can buy it. I mean, my dad goes for the drops now as well, and for him as a consumer, he's not the best technologically, he doesn't really use his phone a lot, so actually him being able to do that is a really, really good step in the right direction for an average consumer to get on and purchase these. Whereas back last year, I doubt he would have been able to do it, just purely how frustrating the app was for users. But that doesn't mean that it still couldn't be improved further. The app still runs not as smoothly as you'd like to. The UI isn't the most beautiful you've ever seen on an app and could definitely be improved. Just overall for an app, there's definitely areas where it can be developed further. Things as well right now where phones have different advantages. So if you have a better phone, you've obviously potentially got more better of a chance of getting these drops. Also, when it comes to sniping on the marketplace, phones with bigger screens are actually able to see the buy now buttons on the sniping before anyone else. So it's not to say that it is an advantage per se for some people, but definitely for others who are quick. This would give me a couple milliseconds ahead of someone who has to scroll down and click the buy now on the sniping area. So there's definitely some things that can be done to improve, but they're not really massive. You know, there's some slight things here and there, but more in regards to the UI, though it's very easy to understand and you can get your way around the app, I think we've come to a point now where design is actually quite important, and having that good looking app is essential for people to enjoy what they're doing. The customer experience is probably one of the most important things alongside customer service. So if the customer experience is great in terms of going for the drops, the excitement for that, that's fantastic. But if you want someone to remain on the app, then you have to make it good to look at. Something that is really easy on the eye, it's easy to navigate, and that is quite a challenging thing. So I do hope in the future that Veve are looking at UI designs in order to actually make this app something that is really beautiful to look at. It's not to say that it hasn't improved, because I definitely know it has, but there's a lot further things that could be done. And from people who I have talked to who have designed the likes of apps, there's probably quite a few easy routes that they could take in order to make it just more aesthetically pleasing. The second problem that I had, and I've talked about this in quite a lot of videos, but I still think that Veve have learned from this massively since the beginning, and this is the under promise over deliver ethos that I like to stand by. Veve have promised or alluded to the things that are coming earlier than they ever should be. In the beginning, as a startup company, you know, you kind of want to share everything with your consumers. You want to see the roadmap and what's going on and what's happening, get everyone involved. And Veve definitely done that and still continue to do that. I mean, they hosted AMAs every 2 weeks. The founders were coming on, some of the artists were coming on. We even had Alfred Kahn the last few months. Definitely involved way more than some of these massive companies in the world we're facing right now, Google, Facebook, Apple, all that sort of stuff. You know, you don't see them as much. I've never known a company who I love to be a part of, and I've had the chance to actually hear the founders and the licensors and the marketing heads in the place quite consistently. So the fact that they've done that is already a massive step up, but they definitely had to learn the hard way that there's a balance to that. You know, they've started to slowly sort of maybe not be in the limelight as much in these calls, not doing them as much, and that's actually a really good thing for me, because there was a few tweets that were put out in regards to MTL and to MCP and all those sort of stuff that never actually came to light when they said it would. And this caused a lot of turmoil and a lot of negativity in the community for not the right reasons. Business, as I've spoken about, is actually a lot more complicated than people think. So there's a lot more processes that are completely out of Veve and Ecomi's hands to actually do anything. Therefore, when it comes to those sorts of business stuff that actually really impacts an investor's money, if we're taking this from an investor standpoint and not solely a collector standpoint, then it's essential to do what is right for your business. I feel was right for the business right now is to do exactly what they're doing. They took a step back. They don't tweet as much about what could potentially be happening, but rather updates on what is going on right at this minute. They don't give specific dates because that's very, very important to do, as again, business doesn't work like that. But the failures in the past hopefully are going to allow them to move forward better in the future, because if we're being completely blunt, just wasn't good enough. You cannot do that as a company, to promise certain things that are coming at certain times and then expect people to be okay with you not delivering that. Hard understanding and a hard decision to make when you're taking a little bit of a step back from the community before working in the background of the things that you're doing. But I'm actually quite happy that they've managed to do that, and I hope they do keep that up. I get it that some of you want all of the information that goes on, but the amount of NDAs that are probably needing to be signed and the amount of things that are going on in regards to laws, there's just no actual room for you to learn anything. And at the end of the day, you're owed nothing to know anything. They don't need to say anything. They're trying to do it to help you understand, but I guess you're never going to win with everyone. The third one I'm going to talk about is going to be a little bit different, but it's in regards to management in general and employees just overall. I've obviously discussed that they are hiring more and more people. And one of the things of hiring is actually very challenging, especially in this new space. We don't have historical data to go off of someone who's been in the NFT or crypto and all those industries for the last 20 years because it didn't exist in those times. So hiring the right people for a company is extremely important. And one of the things that happens when you go from a startup and then multi-million-dollar businesses is the sort of mindset has to change in order for scalability to be a thing. So I think we could all just understand the basics that if a company goes from 0 to $1 million in a couple months, the shift in mindset that is needed in order to scale that from 1 million to 10 million is going to be different from the 0 to 1 million. And therefore, what I hope Veve and Ecomi are doing, not allowing their company to grow through the employees that they have, because sometimes an employee can be perfect for the 0 to 1 million part, but does not fit the 1 to 10 million part. It's going to be a very challenging thing because, again, we don't actually know what goes on in the background. But what I really hope Veve do is that if they aim as mass media and they want the world to actually enjoy what they're doing, stuff like Pokemon Go and matching up with those sorts of stuff, then they need to have the right management in order to handle that growth and that scalability. Scalability is extremely difficult, especially when you get up to those areas. And my hope with Ecomi and Veve is that they just understand this. Sometimes a manager who's been there for all through the years to build us up to what it is has sort of reached their peak at what they could do effectively for that area anyway right now. It's not to say that employees couldn't move around. I think that's a great thing where they could be more useful in different areas. But what I do hope is that if they do scale and they continue to scale, that they're hiring the right people to help them do just that. Now, again, that's sort of on own mindset of me. It's not really based on data in regards to Ecomi and Veve, but just an understanding of business business management itself and what has to be done in order for scalability to continue the way they want it to continue. Again, they've all actually been incredibly successful in what they've done in the past anyway, and have incredibly successful people. So I'm guessing they've discussed stuff like this, but I do hope that they have that in the mind and they are okay with the shifts that may happen if their plan is mass adoption. And the final thing for me that I'm going to talk about today is in regards to gamification of the app. Now, I remember they discussed the retention rates of Veve and what it was and how incredible it was so far. And I was absolutely blown away by the retention rates that Veve were getting. I think Reese mentioned like 60% were coming back. And I believe this was, they were logging on at least once a month for retention rates. Now, that is already significantly higher than most apps and most games and anything that you would have. However, the problem is we don't really have much else to do at the moment other than buying sets and not doing anything. There's a lot of things that can be done in regards to collecting, and there's a reason a lot of you who play games will go back to Apex, Rocket League, Fortnite and more. There's battle passes, there's levels, there's challenges, there's things to keep you there and keep you hooked, wanting to improve, wanting to become better, wanting to become the best, and just being on top. And Veve need to start implementing something like this in order to truly retain customers. If customer retention is one of the most important aspects of your app or just your development of your user base, then you want people coming back each and every day. And with the social aspect of Veve right now, the search bar not really working, the feed being pretty terrible because we can't really see the things from the people we follow unless we click on the notifications and we see what they've posted to the feed, and then interacting with that takes time. And we've also got the things in regards to sets not really doing anything right now. MCP isn't released. We can't do anything with our sets. We can't sell the sets together. We don't have challenges each day in order to complete them to get MCP points. And it kind of all goes back to MCP and what it is. I think this might be one of the biggest things for Veve when it comes to retention rates and actually growing the user base to continuously come back, and not just once a month, but genuinely every day. And building that out, I know is going to take some time, but it's of course one of those things you want to see sooner rather than later, because if people are losing faith in a company and people are sort of letting the hype die down, then there has to be something to keep people coming back. People are competitive by nature. We want to be at the top, we want to be the best, we want to show off to our friends. And we already do that with the social aspects of Veve. People are posting on Twitter all the time about their collections, on the feed and everywhere else. People on YouTube as well are talking about it, just like we are right now. But there has to be more in order to truly retain those customers. And with new people coming on here and seeing some of the things that might be overpriced or out their budget and everything's sold out, there has to be another way in order to actually keep them coming back and keeping them there. I know at the sort of hype period between November and mid-January-ish, there were a lot of new users coming on this platform and instantly not being able to get any of the drops for 13, 14, 15 consecutive drops. And that just sort of makes people get off of the app and not ever really want to come back. So when you add in challenges, when you add in ways that you can spend your MCP points and more for accessories, designing a place, or anything that just adds a little bit more to what you're doing and gamifying it, it can really show off the level of detail that you're going for to retain those customers and how important that customer experience is to you. That was my sort of overview of the things that are frustrating me at the moment when it comes to Veve. I don't want this to be a solely negative video, because it's not. I'm trying to be constructive here and trying to give ways that they could maybe look at it a little bit further from a consumer point of view. Now granted, they might not actually ever watch this video, but maybe it finds someone who does enjoy it as well and they spread a little bit more information too. From a consumer, for myself, I am wanting to see Veve succeed because I absolutely love what that app is. I love the founders and I love what they're actually doing in transforming me into a collector. I just bought my first Pokemon card since I was around 10 the other day and I've been absolutely loving to open them. And that was thanks to Veve. So I've been able to meet incredible people through this app and grow my following through the love of it too. I hope this can be in a constructive format. I want to see it succeed and I know you do. So I would love to hear some of your constructive criticism in regards to Veve. What would you like to see them improve and what's the solution you have for that? Be sure to let me know down below. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.